Good evening and welcome to another Madam Money class. My name is Tarra Jackson, aka Madam Money, and I am here to give you the insider information on everything dealing with your money, investments, insurance, cash, whatever it is, so that you can control your cash, so you can live the life of your dreams, so you can have more than enough every single month. So we talk everything from budgeting to investing to insurance. And now we're going to talk about the thing that everybody needs to talk about is retirement savings. So we're going to give you the 411 on 401ks. And you know, I had to get my girl. Now, y'all know I have the best social media friends that I ain't never met in person, but we just connect like we've known each other forever, right? So this chick I found called Carrie Pink, I love the name Carrie Pink. I love her name, Carrie Pink. And the cool thing about Carrie Pink is she has a gray streak in her head. I've been trying to grow, like I have a couple gray hairs, but mine won't grow like hers. But she is so hot, and she is your financial stylist. So I am so excited to welcome Miss Carrie Pink to the Madam Money class. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like we literally just met virtually face to face about 15 minutes ago.
Literally.
Like we've known each other for like 20 years.
We've been following each other a long time.
For a long time.
A long time, and have participated in other things together.
We know each other. You know, I can't wait to see what happens when we actually meet in person.
Face to face, right? I know.
Everybody pray for us now. But thank you so much for coming on and, talking about something that we really need to talk about, because a lot of people are employed. They have 401ks, yes, or they've been offered 401ks and they don't know if they should contribute. They're contributing, but not really a lot, or they want to contribute a whole bunch, but they're not sure about the limitations. So that's why we wanted to talk about the 411 on the 401ks. And I appreciate you coming to the table and saying, hey, we should really talk about 401ks. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. We should.
We should.
We should really do that. But before we get down to the 411 on 401ks, tell everybody about you, how wonderful you are, who you help and what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm Carrie Pink, your financial stylist. I show women how to blur the lines between frugal and fabulous. I started a long time ago in credit, and then I went into sort of like affordable fashion, and that's sort of where the financial stylist monkey ear came from. It was really about dressing like $1 million for less. And it just continued to translate over when I went back into pure finance, because we want to talk about money, but it's a topic that makes people a little apprehensive. So what can I do to make it more interesting and more engaging and more fun? Well, I talk about finance a lot through the language of fashion, especially when I talk about investing, because it just makes it simple for people to understand and really keeps them engaged, and they don't glaze over and feel like I'm talking about things in a black hole. So I've been teaching finance since 2002, so a super long time in different capacities. And I mean, I just like to help people get their money right. Let's just get it right.
Let's get it right. Get it tight. I agree with you. And you know what? It looks like we've been doing this for a really long time, which completely lies about our age.
You know, because I was clearly 10 when I started.
We obviously started when we were teenagers, not still. But thank you so much for, contributing to what I call the women's wealth, hashtag women's wealth. So I have a big movement about women's wealth. And even though the gentlemen are welcome to participate and learn as well, women exceed men in spending, and we are less than men in investing and saving. So it's now the time for us to either flip the script and
Yes.
exceed, or at least get up to our counterparts. And so that is what women's wealth is all about. And also keep in mind, women's wealth is not just about money. Women's wealth is an entire body. It's your physical, your personal, your professional, your emotional, your spiritual, your personal.
Yeah.
Everything affects your financial.
That's
and
right.
Financial affects everything else. And so when you are whole with your whole women's wealth, that's when you become successful. And that's what Carrie and I are really shooting for, to help women to be whole, to have a whole body of women's wealth, right?
Exactly. Especially now that women are falling into the primary breadwinner category, we really can't slack with the savings and investing. The future of our families really, really depend on it now.
Absolutely, especially if you're a single mom, because you don't have that second income to support you potentially, or if you're widowed, or if you're divorced.
That's right.
And so we have to really make sure that we understand our options and make sure that we leverage what we have and the tools that we have. And so when we know better, we may not do better, but we have a fighting chance to get better.
That's right. Or at least teach our kids better.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So let's get down to the 411 on 401ks, because at the end of the day, we're talking about future, savings, retirement savings, living our dreams in the future. We're giving our future self the gift of a beautiful lifestyle. Yes. And one of those ways to prepare for that is utilizing the 401k, especially if you are employed with an employer that offers a 401k. But for most people, we don't really understand what a 401k is. So what is a 401k?
Yeah. So I like to look at the 401k as, because you can only really use it if you're a working individual, I like to look at it as buying your future days off in advance. Ooh, right? That's sort of my analogy. But on its face, it's a retirement savings plan, and it's sponsored by your employer. So you have to be a working person, and your company has to offer it. There are all kinds of standards that determine when a company has to offer a 401k. Size of a company determines whether or not they'll offer it. But it literally lets you take money out of your paycheck, pre-tax, and put it away for way later, like tomorrow, 20, 30 years from now. The money is invested, and we'll talk a little bit as we go down later on what those investments sort of look like. But the biggest benefit of the 401k is that it allows you to move this money around before taxes hit it, before Uncle Sam can touch it, and then you worry about paying taxes way later.
Okay, so that's what we call deferred taxes, okay? So you are able to take your taxable income and take a portion of that, put it in a little bucket that will then reduce your taxable income. So you're not paying taxes now, you're just going to pay taxes later, which is called deferred, taxation, okay? So you're not eliminating the taxes, you're just deferring it to a future date. So you don't have to pay taxes on that money right now. The great benefit is if you are at a certain tax bracket, you leverage the 401k so you can reduce your taxable income because of that deferment, right?
Exactly. And the hope there is one, you'll knock yourself down into a lower tax bracket when you get your taxable income. And then two, that when you pay taxes on the 401k later, that you'll actually be in a lower tax bracket as well, because you'll no longer be working. So those are some of the advantages. That's going way further down the line, but
and for some of those that are leveraging it now, where they put that money away in the 401k and now they're taking the money out now, they're not being taxed on all of that money that they put away. They're only going to be taxed on what they use.
The portion that they withdraw.
The portion that they use. And we'll get into the details of all that. But, and I don't know if I got into how it works, but how does really a 401k actually work?
Yeah. So you decide as the individual employee, you decide how much you want to contribute. Depending on what your company offers, you'll often hear a lot of people say, oh, well, my company matches up to blank. So I contribute the minimal amount I need to receive that company match. And we'll talk about what a match is in a few minutes, but it literally lands in your court how much you're going to put into it. And it goes into a brokerage fund specifically for 401ks, and it's invested, and you choose as the employee what it's going to be invested in. If you don't pick, then it sort of goes into a general mutual fund based on your age, right? So they say you're 31, okay, you're going to retire in 30 years. We're going to put this in a 30-30 fund, something that we know you're not going to start withdrawing from for 30 years. And we can talk a little bit about why target funds, they call that a target fund, by the way. So we'll talk about why target funds are good when you're a beginner compared to becoming more active in your investing strategy as you get more savvy.
Okay, awesome. And you know, the great thing about the way we have it set up now for this Madam Money class is that those that register to get into the VIP section of it, they can ask us questions. You know,
Yes.
Those that are on Facebook Live, you know, you can't ask us questions, but you can benefit from the information. And those that are watching later, you can benefit from the information. But we do have some participants in there. I want to give special shout outs to Andrea, Kimberly, Maisha, Patrice, Patricia, and Tina, and a couple others that are on there. And Patrice asked a good question. Do you recommend having a 401k and a Roth IRA? I have my thoughts on it, but Carrie, what's yours?
Yeah, so this is, I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to talk about specifics as to why, right? So a 401k, you are able to benefit from, as we talked about in the first question, that deferred taxation. So this is money that you're putting away before taxes, right? Now, a Roth IRA is money that you're putting in after you pay taxes. So you're using your net income to contribute. Here's the thing, unless you're a very aggressive 401k investor, most people will need the 401k and the Roth because there are limits, but we'll talk about what those limits are later. So once you get to a point where you're maxing out your 401k, and you still feel like, based on your projections, that you need additional retirement income, the Roth is another good vehicle that you can use. So I say yes.
And I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I agree that, you know, I believe in diversification of investing and saving as well. You don't put all of your eggs into one basket. So you leverage the tax-free, or tax-deferred, tax-free, and tax now. I call that tax now, tax later, tax never. And so you put money in all of those buckets so you can diversify those. So for example, your tax now are your savings accounts. You get a 1099 every month if you have like a CD, money market, those type of accounts that's there. You want even some stocks, you are going to get taxed on those capital gains. Those are tax now vehicles. You have your tax later, which is your 401k, your traditional IRAs. That's you get deferred taxes, you get taxed later. And then your tax never is those whole life, life insurance, those cash value life insurance products, as well as your Roth IRAs, because you're not going to get taxed on that because you've already been taxed on it. So I believe in tax, you know, to leverage diversity in your savings and investing. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. The only thing that I may differ on is when you should do that. So when should you take that route of going into the Roth IRA? And I really think that people should really maximize the opportunity they have with their 401k first before going the Roth IRA route. And because the limit is higher than most people expect, you know, most people are a little shocked by that number and don't believe that people really save that much in a 401k, but you can, and you should eventually, that should be your goal to get there. I started with an IRA first because my company didn't offer 401ks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And when I started working for a company that did offer 401ks, I was as close to maxing as I could get while still being able to pay bills.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that, because Tina had a question. What's the max contribution that you recommend in both a 401k and IRA? And both of them have maximums that we can contribute. So let's talk a little bit about that. And you know, I have a caveat to that as well. But go ahead. What is the maximum contribution that we can contribute to 401ks and IRAs?
So 401ks, I believe for 2017, if you're under 50, well, this is the 2016 number, actually. The 2016 number, max contribution was $18,000 for the year. And that's if you're under 50. But if you're over 50, then they allow you to put in more to catch up.
50 years old or 50,000?
50 years old. So if you're over 50, then you can put in more. An IRA, the maximum is much lower. So last I checked, it was about 5,500. It might be 6,000 now for 2017, but the number is much lower. So that's a max contribution you can put in per year. Some people choose to max out their IRA first because it's just a lower threshold. But again, that's post-tax money, and I want to get in as much pre-tax dollars as I can, right? Exactly. What percentage should you do? You'll hear people say do as much as you need to get the company max, the company match. Now, company match is money that your employer gives you for free, right?
Free money, y'all.
For free, literally.
Money.
And you want to take advantage of that money, right? So if they tell you you need to put in 5% of your own money to get 5% of their money, put in the 5%. This is like a no-brainer because it's free money. It's free. All you have to do is give them a little. You have to participate. That's it, right? So if I have to give them 5% to get their free 5%, ideally, that means I need to be putting in more because I should be putting in more for myself anyway, right? And then go ahead.
So I agree and disagree on that point. One, I agree on the fact that you should put in as much as possible, especially if you're closer to retirement than you'd like to be, right? So if you didn't take advantage when you were 20s and you're now at 40 and now you're starting to do it, you might want to put in a little bit more. I do say do the max of what they will match you, and then find another vehicle to give you more leverage or more, return with the rest of the amount. So if they're going to match you up to 5%, max up to 5%. And if you can do 10%, I'd probably put that 5% someplace else. But I would definitely say speak to or consult with a licensed wealth manager or, stockholder, wealth manager when you do that. Make sure they have their Series 7, Series 6, Series 63. Make sure that they're licensed to consult you on investing before you take advice, okay? So you'll notice that I will not tell you exactly where to put it because it's illegal. So you want to make sure you get someone that's licensed. But I am telling you, definitely do up at least up to the match. And if you can't do the match immediately of 5%, start at 1%, next year go to 2%, then the following year go to 3%, and build up. Because again, like Carrie said, it's free money.
That's right. That's right. And something I'd add to that, and I definitely believe that everybody should talk to a licensed investing advice specialist, whoever it is. But also do your own homework and your own research. Always do your own homework and your own research.
Yes.
And my choice for saying put in more if you can is because oftentimes you can find things within your 401k offerings that have performance worth sticking with.
Yes.
And I'll give you my own personal example. I had maybe about $40,000 in my 401k when I took the decision to go from target fund investor to active investor. I made all my own picks, all my own choices, and I grew my account to $100,000 in 3 years.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Now here's the thing, y'all. Carrie's special. All right. You're just smart like that. Don't be doing that crap. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Okay.
That's true. You have to know what you're doing. But you can go, there are picks in there.
Just saying.
There's some good picks in there.
If you're not willing to do the homework, don't do that crap that she did. Don't do it. I'm just saying. Trust me on this one. So, but leads me to the question, and Zoe, I do see your question. We're going to get to that. But Kimberly had a question. Is it better to manage your 401k or allow a company to manage it? What tools will you suggest with managing your 401k investments? Now, for me, if you are not, very savvy with it, I would consult with the company's administrator or their 401k administrator within that, which is the investment company. And they have investment advisors that you can talk to that can help you understand the process. But, make sure you understand what they're saying. If you don't understand what they're saying, then you need to contact your financial stylist or Madam Money so we can help to translate some of this information that they may give you. But what do you think, Carrie?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I believe that no matter who you talk to, you should always make the final decision for your money.
I agree.
Always. It's your money. You've earned it. You've worked hard. Do not put the final decision in somebody else's hands.
Exactly. And like I said, consult. I didn't say to go with everything that they say. To consult with, and then do your research. Trust but verify. This is probably the only time you'll hear me quoting a Republican.
Hi. Don't make those decisions by yourself if you don't know what you're doing. Call me. I teach you how to read your own investments.
Right. And
how to read it for yourself.
I do it too.
And
but
it's just education. Mine is just education. I don't recommend any specific fund and or stock and or any other investment, but I can educate you on what you're looking at. Because for a lot of people, it looks like French.
It does. German, French, Chinese,
Mandarin, English, whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. You see your first statement and you're looking at it like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
What are all these numbers? What are these arrows? What does this mean? I don't know what I'm looking at. Right. If you want to know what you're looking at, let me know.
Absolutely. Any recommendation? Okay, I'm looking at the Q&A box. So now, Zoe's had a good question. What is your perspective on 557 plans?
The 457s?
457. I'm sorry, 457 plans.
I mean, to me, I've never had one. So my understanding is that they fall into the same sort of bucket as the 401k. It's just one that's issued by government rather than private. A private company. It's similar to like the 403b. 403b are offered by higher education. They all have the same characteristics for the most part. You're going to find different things available in each one, but it's still an options based.
It's still a tax deferred option. Okay. And all those numbers, they're tax codes. Okay.
Right.
401k is a part of a tax code of 401 section K. 403b is 403 section B. So, 457, it's just a part of a tax code. That's the number, that's the section. And they all deal with tax deferred money and how they're being dealt with and who can offer them as well. So, with the exception of the 457 may not have a match. The 403Bs usually don't have a match.
Mine did.
401Ks usually do have matches.
I had a 403b. I worked for higher ed and I had a match.
You had a
Yes, I sure did. Girl, if I tell you the percentages it was pretty crazy.
Look, if you get a 403b and you get a match, you stupid not to. Are you
Exactly.
Because there's not a lot of 403bs that matches that I am familiar with. They usually offer but don't match. But if you got a 403b and they match, girl,
5% too.
Okay, So we talked about matching. So let's talk about vesting. Because a lot of people, you know, they see the word vesting and they're like, I don't have a vest. What the hell?
Right.
So what in the vest is vesting?
Okay. So vesting is the amount of time you have to wait before the money that a company matches you with becomes yours. So for example, I worked for a university. I had a 403B. There was a 5% match, but it took 5 years before that match would be completely vested. That means if I leave that university before my 5 years is up, they take all that money they match me with back. Now, if I stay for 5 years or beyond, every dollar they matched, when I leave, that money goes with me.
So that seems simple. So that is a strategy that employers use to make sure that you stay as long as possible in employment, okay?
That's right.
So if you should leave before the vested year or you should get terminated before the vested year, all of that free money they were going to give you, they cannot give that to you anymore and they can keep it, okay?
Right.
And so here's the thing. This is how some employers do you, right? So they have a scale, they have a vesting scale, okay? So if you stay within 2 years, you'll get this percentage vested. If you stay 4 years, you'll get this percentage vested. If you stay 10 years, you get 100% vested. So you have to read the information. And again, if you don't understand your 401k package, 403b, 457, if you don't understand it, contact Carrie Pink or contact Madam Money, and we can help you. We can translate it for you, because you can say, oh my gosh, I'm going to get 100% match up to 5%, and I'm doing 5%, and you decide to leave after a year. If they have a vested or a vesting clause that you have to stay a certain amount of years, nah, you don't get.
You're not getting it. Sorry, boo.
Sorry, boo. So that is very important and that's a very important question to ask, don't you think? That if you want to start your 401k, you ask the administrator, is there a vesting or a vested clause for the 401k?
Well, and here's something else that they should be mindful of, whether or not there's a matching start point. Right? So for me, I was able to contribute to a 401k from day one of my hire. However, there was no matching until I was there for 2 years.
Ooh, okay.
I had to be there for 2 years first.
Right.
And then I had to wait 5 years for it to vest.
Okay. And so in the same breath that, you know, I've been with a company where they didn't allow you to contribute for a year. You have to be there for a year, and then you can contribute to the 401k. And then they had a vesting period as well.
Yeah. So they should be mindful of that as well. If a company gives you the option to join on day one, join on day one.
Do it.
Join on day one. Even if you put in 1%, join.
Do it. Just do it.
Yes.
Even if they're not matching you until the year after, do it now. Start getting into it now.
That's right.
To it, because then you're going to get that free money the following year.
Well, and then compound interest comes and works in your favor. And I mean,
that is the best invention ever. Compound interest. I felt so good saying that. Say it with me now.
Compound interest.
Oh, that's so sexy. Woo! Okay. Okay. Let's do. Okay. So here's a good one. Now, I've had several of my clients ask me this question.
Okay.
And your answer is probably going to be the same answer as mine.
Yeah.
But should someone ever borrow against their 401k? And we're going to piss off a lot of people tonight. I promise.
No.
I am.
Yeah, you will.
I am.
So.
And the reason why is because I did it and I know the consequences. So I don't want you to have to do what I did. So yeah, I'm excited to piss somebody off tonight. But Carrie, what are your thoughts?
You're such a gracious host. So here's the thing. Let's talk about this for a second. Here's what happens with and this, again, okay. let me be honest. Now I'm gonna be real with y'all, right? The average person who has a 401k, the reason that they need to borrow from their 401k is not worth borrowing, right? Plain and simple, right? So Joe Schmo or Jane Schmoette coming to me saying, should I ever borrow from my 401k? 9 times out of 10, my answer is going to be, hell no.
Hell to the no.
However, there are instances where a borrow could be a favorable idea. And these are very, 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 very limited reasons. It's not because your car breaks down. It's not because you need to go on vacation.
Hell no.
It's not because your son or your daughter need to borrow $10,000.
Hell to the no.
Because none of those people are going to pay you back.
Boom.
But there are reasons. And for me, they're very few. One, if you have some type of debt that you're having a difficult time paying because the interest rate is eating you alive.
Yes.
And we're talking 20%, 30%, 30, 35. I've seen debt at 35% interest.
I've seen them at 40.
Oh my God, I was crying over 35.
Girl.
If you have a significant chunk of debt, one, it would mean that you also need to have a significant amount in your 401k to do this. It may not even be an option for you. But if you have a significant chunk of debt, say you have 10K in consumer debt, and they're charging you 25, 30, 35% in interest, and you have more than 20,000 in your 401k, taking a loan against your 401k to pay off that debt at a lower interest rate over time may be favorable for you because you're going to save a ton on interest.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm going to let you know however. Okay.
However, this depends on a lot of things, right? How long have you been at that job? How long do you plan to stay at that job? What's your current rating at that job, right? Because if you take a loan from a 401k and you get fired, God forbid, that loan is due in full on that day.
Called a balloon payment.
And clearly you don't have the money. That's why you took the loan to begin with.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
So 9 times out of 10, and for me, this is like extreme cases. I have only one client I've ever worked with who I recommended that to. One.
So can I share now?
Yeah. Okay.
So understanding everything that she said and what she said, I absolutely agree with. The only time it's actually favorable is if you know, one, you're going to be at that job for at least another 5 years.
Forever.
At least 5 years and forever. You're not going to get fired or they're not going to lay off within that 5 years, and that you pay it off within a short period of time, okay? So just because now it's a lower interest rate doesn't mean now you're just going to pay the minimum payment and draw it out for another 30 years. That's not how that works. It's not. If you're paying $300 on the loan, you may want to still pay the $300 or at least the $250 or whatever and pay it off as quickly as possible. Because what's happening is now you're going to owe the money back, but you've taken away from the compound interest, which you're negative in your retirement savings. So it's almost like starting all over again. So you're essentially borrowing the money against yourself, and you have to pay yourself back.
Right.
And if you don't pay yourself back, your future self is going to kick you in the butt. I was going to say ass, but butt.
Right. And that is a true thing to be wary of, that you are taking away from you're halting the movement your money can make.
you're halting your future vacation, your future long-term vacation.
You're halting
so,
the work
unless you want to work until you're 90. If that is your goal, to borrow this money against your 401k and continue to work another 40 years, when you're at the age of 40 or 50, I mean, you know, power to you. But for most of us, we want to retire at a young enough age to enjoy it, right? We don't want to have to work at 85.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you want to work at Walmart, I'd love to come and say hi to you, shout out, you know. But the short answer for me to borrow against your 401k is don't do it. It's not worth it. Unless it's an absolute dire emergency, or it's, you know, it's something that's killing you on the financial end, and it's something that's going to help you in a short term that you're going to be able to pay in a short period of time.
Right.
Do that.
Yeah. But again, most people aren't financially savvy enough to do this.
Right.
Right. Again, I have one client who I recommended it to, and it's because her debt payments outside of that were almost $1,000 a month.
Right.
And so we did the 401k loan, and they dropped to maybe $250, $300. So then it became,
and then they paid it off in a short period of time, though.
She did it in 3 to 4 years.
See?
So,
absolutely.
I mean, that for her, it made sense because, I mean, it was so tight. Her interest rate was almost 30%.
Right.
Right. And then when you do the 401k loan, your interest rate is like 6%. So you still have to pay interest. Don't think that you don't have to pay interest, but you're paying that brokerage house the fee for allowing you to take a loan off of your own money.
Exactly.
Because there should be
another option, you know, I would always say is that if you have a cash value life insurance policy, I would borrow against that before you borrow against your 401k. I would do that. So those are different options. So before you start cashing in stuff and all that stuff, consult with Carrie Pink or Madam Money. I'm just saying. How many times I gotta tell you? All right.
Just do it.
So let's talk about early withdrawals. What's the thing about early withdrawals? You know, my answer is the same as the borrowing, but you go for it, girl.
Oh, early withdrawals. Okay. I'm a little more lenient. Again, I do not support early withdrawals except for in very, very limited circumstances. And I mean extremely limited. One, if you're going to purchase a house. And that's only if it's such a minor portion that you're still going to leave the majority of the balance intact.
Exactly.
Don't tell me you're clearing out your whole 401k because you're going to buy a house. Absolutely not. But if you've got $150,000 in your 401k and you want to take $20,000 and go buy a house, more power to you. In that, I will not argue with you. Now, there may be other people who will. I am not one of them. Now, don't tell me with $10K in your 401k talking about you going to go buy a house. No, honey, you can't afford a house and you need to sit down.
Thank you. If you can't afford to save, you can't afford to borrow.
Right. Sit down. The end. Right? So that is one very limited, and it requires a look at the entire picture, not just, oh, well, I have money there and I want to take it out to go buy. No.
Okay.
So
that's
not how this works.
That leads me to a very good point, because I always say this about credit, but I'm going to say this about retirement savings, okay? Your 401k money is like sex, okay? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh my God.
And if you do, make sure you're protected.
Oh my God.
You have enough and you have a budget. I say that about sex. I mean, about credit. Same thing.
Oh my God.
I'm mad at money, okay? The reason why I say that is just because you got $10,000 in your 401k doesn't mean you should use the money in your 401k for a house, for emergencies, for debt, or whatever.
No.
Now, like she said, if you have $150,000, you pretty much created a protection. You've created a cushion. So if you need to take out $10,000, $20,000, you're probably going to be okay because you have over $100,000 working that compound interest. But a lot of us like to be very premature with tapping that asset of our savings and our investment vehicles.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's going to hurt you in the long run. See, the thing about that compound interest is like metabolism. Because the older you get, the less it actually works because you don't have a lot of time. But the longer you have, the more time you have, the better that compound interest works. So as long as you allow that compound interest to do what it do for a good long period of time, it's going to help you in the long run.
Right.
I think I've scared like a good 70%.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Listen, so that's my one limited. My second limited, very, 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 very limited options. If you want to start a business, and I'm not even going to say start, because if you are starting a business and you have no idea whether or not that idea is going to work, don't borrow from your 401k to do it. No, 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 no. No, no, no.
Trust me.
No.
I know.
Me too.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's not worth it.
Don't do it.
If you have a business and
that's already running,
and you just need extra, you need some capital to grow bigger, we could probably
maybe. There you go. And that's exactly what I was going to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. If you already have a business that you've been running and it has proven itself, the idea is working, it's already making its own money, and you just need to grow a little bit, then we can talk. Not for some new idea you just thought of last night and you slept on it and woke up and say, hey, I'm going to go take out my 401k. Or not because you went to
that network market meeting and it got you all hot and bothered and you're excited. Now, I'm a firm believer in network marketing. I love them to death. But no, that is not a good reason to tap into your savings or to tap into your future savings to do that. You know what I'm saying? So start small and then work your way up. But if your business has been sustainable for at least 2 years, and it's making a little bit of money and you just need to grow, then we can have a conversation.
Let's talk about what sustainable is first, because sustainable today, it's not sustainable tomorrow.
Not social media.
So
it's not social media sustainable.
Don't do it.
So
trust me, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
So Patrice has a good question. Do you believe that if you are 38 that you should have 38,000 in your 401k, 403b? She thinks she read that somewhere. When I was 38, I had more than that until, my whole fiasco. But that's a good gauge that if you're 38 years old, you should have $38,000 if you can save up to that amount. Also depends on when you started contributing and how much you contribute as well.
Well, and it also depends on your income, right? So if your income, so here's the numbers that I sort of deal with. If you've been contributing to your 401k, if you've been working for 10 years and contributing to your 401k for 10 years, you should have a year's worth of salary saved. Whatever that number is. If you make 50,000, you should have 50,000. If you make 100,000, you should have 100,000. No matter how old you are, pretty much. Because if we're following this whole especially if you have a match, don't play. If you get a 5% match and a 5% contribution from yourself, that's 10% a year. 10 years, you should have a year's salary.
Right. I mean, that's a good gauge. That's if you're consistent with it.
That is if you're consistent. Or you can be like me and be a beast and OD for 2 or 3 years at 20% or 25%. And then you'll get to the same number in a very short period of time.
Okay, so she's a beast. I just got a question. Are you married?
I am.
Okay, she's a beast and she's married. Now, if you could be a beast and single, because I'm single, I can't be a beast like her yet. But if you're working on a single income household, I need you to be mindful of that as well.
I was a single income. I was married.
The beast.
But I was the beast. And I tell this story to my clients, but I made significant lifestyle changes in order to do that.
Okay. Right. So if you're able and willing to make those lifestyle changes, because there's a lot of people that make more than enough money to save for retirement, but their lifestyle that they're grown accustomed to is what's limiting them.
Yes.
But if you are willing to adjust the lifestyle for a short period of time, you can go in.
You could do whatever.
Go in for a short period of time and catch up really, really quick.
Really quick. Listen, like, can I throw some numbers?
Numbers. I like numbers.
Let's throw some numbers. So I made some significant changes, right? Because I knew that I wanted to leave my job. So I'm like, and it was just me and my own goal. Like, okay, I was working for 10 years, but I didn't have that year's salary in my 401k. And I wanted to have that before I left my job. So I made some significant lifestyle changes, took my kid out of private school, moved to a smaller place, parked up one of my cars because it was already paid for. I was saving in my 401k over $2,000 a month.
Wow.
$2,000, like real beast mode. And I made my own picks, and my returns were pretty crazy. The timing was right? Mm-hmm. I had a couple of things in there that were getting returns of like 23%. Yeah. What? My timing was like,
and that's a good point, because timing is everything.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. Right now, maybe not.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know, because it's so volatile right now. But if you get the timing right,
I didn't even know about timing. It just worked out in my favor. And when I left my job in 2015, I had that year's salary in my 401k.
Go, girl.
Yes, girl.
That's boss right there. You did that, girl. Woo. Okay, so Zoe said, what options would you suggest for a single person maxing out both their 401k and Roth annual contributions?
I have one. It's time for a personal brokerage account. Hello.
Oh, yes. That is a very good point.
Hello. If you're already maxing out your 401k and your Roth and you still have money left over that you want to save, girl, it's time to get in the market for real.
Well, it depends and my caveat there, it depends on your age. Now, you can get in the market, but if you're closest to retirement, be careful how much money
True.
in the market, okay?
True.
And maybe balance it out. I always say that you need to have some safe money, some medium money, and some really high risk money that's out there. So
we'll see. I'm not a risky investor. No matter how much money I have invested, I'm not risky. So I think it depends on what your strategy is too.
It does, and it depends on where you put it as well. Yeah. So I'm not a really I'm a risk adverse investor.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at certain stocks that are perform over a long period of time.
Yes.
I don't do penny stocks. I don't do any of those type of things. But you have some people that want to play in the market and they want to play that trading game. But for me,
the average American doesn't need to play in that pool. They don't.
Did you say an African American?
I said the average American.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
A whole new conversation.
No. The average American. The average American should not play in that pool. They should not be playing with penny stocks. They should not be playing with junk bonds.
Don't dive in that pool if you don't know how to swim.
Those are all spec things, and you have to be so I don't even play in that stuff. And I feel like I know a lot.
I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't.
Right. If you're new to investing, or and people they like the idea of penny stocks because it seems cheap, but don't let cheap fool you. Cheap will have you broke.
Cheap will make you broke. Cheap.
You get what you pay for, honey.
You get what you pay for, even when it's free.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's right. Don't do it.
Not a money classes, because you get a whole hell of a lot. I'm just saying. Okay, so we got to wind down now. Let me see. Do all employers allow you to go from being a target fund to active?
Yes.
Okay, so they do allow you to do that. Okay, so the last two questions I have. One question is, what if I leave my job? What happens when I leave my job and I have a 401k and I decide to leave my job?
You have three choices. Depending on your employer, one option is you can leave the money with your old employer if they allow it. Some employers, like when I left my job, I left my money with them because my performance was so high and I was like, I'm not going to get these returns anywhere else. I'm leaving it right there. So that's one option. And you can leave it there literally until you're of retirement age, if they allow it. My company did. Option number 2, if you're going to a new job, you can take that money with you and roll it into your new 401k plan. So that's an option available as well, if they have one that you're going to participate in, which I suggest you do. Because if you've already been doing it, why stop now?
Right.
The third option is if you are leaving a company, you're not going to a new job, or you're not going, and they won't let you keep it where it was, then you can roll it into an IRA. And you'll be able to take the full balance, no matter, even though IRAs have a max contribution per year, you'll be able to take your full balance and dump it into an IRA. And then going forward, your new contributions will be maxed out as whatever they have the max set for the year.
Yes, but make sure you do it in what's called a qualified fund, okay? Qualified fund. So you have to, the 401k is a qualified fund, which means pre-taxed a type of account. So if you're going to roll it over, you need to roll it over into another qualified fund, whether whether it is a cash value life insurance, some of them allow you to roll over there, or it's an annuity, some of them allow you to roll over there, but it has to be a qualified annuity, or a qualified IRA, which is a traditional, a pre-tax one. So you can't roll over a qualified 401k into a non-qualified IRA like a Roth, okay?
Right.
So it's like pouring water from one water bottle into another water bottle. As long as it's a water bottle, even though it's a different brand, it's okay, but you can't pour water in a water bottle into a cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
And something else we want to add to that, right? So when they do that, typically if you're rolling over, it's called a direct rollover, and it's going into a fund that's qualified. Yeah. That means that when they give you that money, the check is going to be written out to that new fund.
To the new fund.
That new fund or that new brokerage.
Yeah.
If they write a check to your name, understand that they're withholding taxes. And they're looking at it as a distribution.
As an income. And they're looking at income, which could increase your taxable income.
Yep. And you're going to get, what do they call that? What's the one that they do for that? It's a form that they send you for tax time. What is it for the distribution?
1099.
It's not a 1099. It's 1098. Yep. And they're going to send you a tax form and say you received, if you got 40K in there, they're going to say, girl, you received 40K in additional income.
And so you have to be careful, because not only will you pay taxes on it, but you're going to pay a penalty.
Yes.
The penalty is usually 10% plus taxes. So that's going to really get you around 30 to 40% of what it is. So if you don't hold that out, so this is what happened to one of my clients. Okay. She allowed someone who didn't know anything about retirement funds, convince her to take the money from one IRA from her 401k and put in her name and put it in a savings account. Don't do that.
No, don't do it.
Do that. Don't take a qualified 401k money and put it into a savings account. You really only have how many days? I think you only have like, how many? 9? You only have a certain amount of days in which to transfer that money into a qualified account. So even if you harvest it into a savings account and then put it in a qualified fund, maybe kind of, sort of, but no. You want to get that check written out to the qualified fund, whether it's a financial institution, a brokerage, an IRA, annuity, whatever it is. You want to get the checks payable to them, FBO, for benefit of.
Right. Exactly. Okay? Don't have them put it in your name. Don't do it.
Have them put that mess in your name.
Nope. Send that back. Send that check back.
All right. So last.
Here's another question. Zoe has a question.
So the benefits of a 401k versus IRA versus a private investment account.
So I think we've sort of covered this, I think, in conversation, but at the end of the day, the benefit of the 401k is that tax deferred ability. And I see Zoe has a question asking, you can't just pay the taxes for the 401k so you can place it in a Roth. No, you can't, number one. And two, you don't want to do that.
Why would you want to?
You don't want to do that.
Why would you want to pay the taxes and a penalty?
Yeah, you're not going to want to do that, because you have to remember, you put that money in there tax-free. Why do I want to pay the taxes on now? Right? Right. Really not tax-free, tax deferred. So whatever my tax rate is today, what I'm trying to do is avoid paying at that rate today. Right. That's why I'm deferring the taxes till later, when I'll hopefully be at a lower tax bracket because I'll be retired.
Exactly.
That's the goal. That's the entire goal of it. So you don't want to pay the taxes, and no, they won't let you. They'll just charge you a penalty.
Absolutely. So you were mentioning that the benefits of the 401k versus IRA and versus private account.
So the biggest benefit of the 401k is that tax deferred piece.
Tax deferment.
And go ahead. For the IRA, it's just an additional way to save on top of the 401k. And it's a tax, as Tara said, a tax never, right? So because you're already paying the taxes on it. And then a private investment account is really, this is your money and you're making your own decisions on it. You can move it around how you want. You can take it back when you want to. There is no penalty for withdrawals, right? So if I invest into Apple stock, $500 today, and tomorrow, by some sheer luck, they grow and I make $1,000, well, I can pull my $1,000 out. Now, am I going to have to pay taxes on that? Yes.
And it's called capital gains tax.
Yes. I'm going to pay taxes on it because I just profited from an investment and I made income, right? So that counts as income for me, but I can take the money whenever I want. Absolutely. If I keep investing the money, I don't pay any tax on it until I sell that investment.
Absolutely.
So there are reasons for each. And me, personally, you should have all. You should have all three.
I agree with you as far as diversification with your savings and investing. And to complement what Carrie was saying, the benefits of your 401k is not only the tax deferment of it, but also the opportunity for matching.
Yes. Free money.
Money.
Yes.
Say it with me now.
Free money.
Y'all know y'all like money. Why y'all playing? So just go ahead and start. If you can't start with a full amount, start low and then build up to high.
Exactly.
To the maximum amount. And then make sure you ask about that vested thing. You know what the vest is vested. So make sure you do that. Carrie, it's been so much fun having girl. We have to do this again.
We should. Absolutely.
So tell everybody how they can connect with you and stay in contact with you.
Well, you can find me all over. I am on Facebook at Your Financial Stylist. I am on Twitter at YF Stylist because they didn't have enough characters for me to spell it out. And I'm on Instagram at Your Financial Stylist as well. And if you need to get these things together, it starts really with your money mindset. It starts with getting your budget in order. It starts with all of those things. And right now for June, July, and August, the first 10 people to register for a budget bootcamp with me will get it for free. So I'm giving away free budget. No one has an excuse to not have their money right. No excuses.
Exactly. No excuses. So make sure you go to her website and
YourFinancialStylist.com.
What is it? It's
YourFinancialStylist.com.
YourFinancialStylist.com. Also, if you want to learn how to do budgets as well, maybe you can't get to the boot camp, I offer you a free class on how to do that. You should listen to both of her boot camp and my
because it's free.
It's free.
Do both.
You can lead a horse to water, but if he wants to die of thirst, that's his bad. So thank you so much, Carrie, for
thank you.
Money class. I so appreciate appreciate you and sharing the 411 on 401k. I hope everybody got the 411 on 401k and you got as much information as possible. Shout out to all of the VIP participants who asked questions, who joined us during the website, and shout out to those of you that are watching the recorded video as well as Facebook Live. If you'd like to participate, make sure you stay in touch with me. We have some great upcoming classes, really talking about credit, talking about investing with kids, talking about career and money. So make sure you stay tuned to the Madam Money class. If you'd like to learn more about the Madam Money class and also how you can get your mind and money right, you can go to madammoney.com, MADAMMONEY.com. Make sure you share this with all of your friends and family that you love and care about. And for those that you hate, just let them be broke. I'm just kidding.
No, you share with them too.
Share it too. Just go on and share it. Share the wealth. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you, and we will see you at the next Madam Money class. Hey, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. By the way, how much did you spend so far today? I love asking that question.
The question of the day.